So I'm one of the lucky individuals who gets to work with some amazing auto dealer partners. And as you'll probably have seen, I am currently driving the Jaguar I-Pace EV 400 HSE. Important that I get that right, because there's 3 or 4 different variants of the Jaguar I-Pace. And Jardine Motors Group, the JLR team there, said to me, would you like to take an I-Pace for a couple of weeks or a month, and you can experience it, see what it's like, and talk about it to people considering buying these cars. So of course I was like, oh no, not at all, who would ever want to do that? So here I am in a EV 400 HSE, which is top spec Jaguar I-Pace. It has a 90 kilowatt hour battery. And what does that really mean in terms of mileage? Well, if you look online, you'll see that that roughly the WLTP range, which is of course the sort of the new way of saying how far can cars, or in EVs go, says about 280 miles. In reality, it isn't 280 miles, and when I woke up to a 100% fully charged battery this morning, it said 233 miles. And that, of course, is the car learning how I'm driving, and in fairness, I drive fairly sensibly, especially on motorways. So, really, you're probably looking at about that 233 mile range. In terms of the car itself, I mean, I've been driving it for about a week or 10 days now, and I have to say, having driven the Audi e-tron, other cars like this, I guess in a similar sort of price bracket, what I can say about this car is that it does things really well. And that sounds a bit silly, because you're probably thinking, well, if you're spending that kind of money, you'd expect it to do things really well. But I think the thing for me with EVs is, the interior is clean, it's simple, but it has all of the stylings that you'd expect to come with Jaguar. So, having been driving it for a week, the way that it handles, the way that the car feels is phenomenal. And let's be clear, it's an absolute rocket ship. So with that 90 kilowatt hour battery and the torque that the car has, it does 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds, which, let's be honest, is more than fast enough. So what else is there to say about the I-Pace, really? Well, I think I've now done 3 long journeys. So I picked this car up from Jaguar Land Rover Milton Keynes, and drove it back up north where I obviously live and am from. And that trip, I can't remember off the top of my head the exact number of miles, but the car did it easily, and I think I stopped once on the way back because I needed a toilet break. I actually didn't need to charge, and I got home with probably kind of 80-90 miles on the clock. I've since done a return trip from where I live in Cheshire to Leeds. Again, no need to charge. And today I am driving down to Gloucestershire, where we're actually doing some filming with the guys at Fully Charged. And again, starting with 233 miles, it says I've got 91 miles or 95 miles, I think it is, to do. So I'm hoping that, all being well, I actually can get there and back on a single charge. Now, I'm going to have to stop anyway, which means that, I can plug in for 5 minutes while I go to the toilet and grab a coffee. But I think the crux of a car that has this type of mileage is that, in reality, you can do most of your trips, at least 90% of the trips that you're probably considering, without having to stop and charge at a public charging station, because you're charging at home the vast proportion of the time. So if you are, those long journeys, the ones where really we get people coming to us at Zoom, and I know that the Jardine guys get coming to them, is, well, I'd love to go EV, but is the range there? And the answer is, unless you're really doing a really long trip, in which case you would be stopping anyway, the answer is yes. You know, if I can go to Gloucester and do filming and come back in a day and actually, you know, not have to charge. I might charge just so that I know, yeah, 100% I'm going to get home, and that mentality. But the answer is I could probably get home and then plug in and charge when I'm at home. So that range anxiety with cars and the way that EVs are set up these days with the range that they have actually means you can go about your day-to-day life quite easily. Specifically with the I-Pace, I think the one thing that I really like about it, aside from its performance, aside from the way this one looks, and aside from the you know, the sort of the simplicity and the way that the internal systems work, is almost like the space and the compactness. So if I compared it to the e-tron, the e-tron's a bigger car, we know that. It felt bigger, it felt a little bit more complicated inside, not that many people probably won't have that problem. But the nice thing about the I-Pace is the size of it. It's not too big, it's got enough space for a family, and in fact we have a little one, the pram is in the boot, and you get that sense of nice and compactness but with space. You know, the boot size is very large, so you get everything that you could possibly need, really.